Hey friends, welcome to this episode of your weekly class on Alex's Akashic Tribe. Welcome to my channel. My name is Alex Noble, and I help folks clear the energetic junk from their past and present lives so that they can live from a space of freedom of will, freedom of choice versus cycles repeated. Okay. So today we're going to talk all about the intuition, so your intuition, what it is, what it isn't, and how to use it, right? So what it is, I like thinking about our intuition as our internal guidance system, intuition, within yourself, okay? It's your internal guidance system. It is your connection to your guides, your spirit guide team, source, your higher self, future versions of yourselves, higher version of yourselves. It is your connection to divine truth. Okay, so your intuition is governed by the rules of the universe, the laws of divine. All right, and it is your connection to divine truth. What it isn't, very easily, your intuition is not ego, it's not your logical mind. It doesn't follow the rules of the logical world, so when we have an intuitive hit, it may not make logical sense, and that's okay. And it's also not make-believe or wishful thinking, right? It's not a whim or a wish or a hopeful thought, right? And it's also not a logical thought. So when we look at how our intuition can communicate with us, our intuition is that inner voice that we have, that little quiet inner voice. And we all have an intuition, all right? All children, all of us when we were children, had this inner knowing, this ability to know when we were being told the truth or not. The ability to know the truth in many situations, the ability to understand what we were being told and what we were being shown, and just this ability to be connected to source and our spirit guide team and divine guidance, right? And through going to school and our interaction with society and different family members and all that stuff, our intuition got backburnered, it got doubted. We created, or we were guided rather, to create distance between ourselves and our intuition. And so our connection to that inner knowing, our connection to divine source, our connection to our spirit guide team started to be ebbed away, started to be eroded. We may have even gotten in trouble for knowing things, for having the answers, for knowing the truth, for calling out the truth, or calling out the truth deniers or the liars in our experiences. So it may have even caused us heartache or trauma or trouble in our developmental ages and stages. And so you may have a relationship with your intuition now that is disconnected, because you disconnected from it to keep yourself safe, right? Or to protect yourself. You may be disconnected simply because you haven't used it. And like a muscle that we don't use for a long time, it's there, but it's dormant, okay? So you may be in a relationship with your intuition with a couple different outcomes here. One is it's dormant. You have it, it's dormant, and you just need to remind yourself that you have it and start using it. And yeah, it might be a little wonky at first, it might hurt a bit at first, but you'll get there. Or two, there may be some healing and some coming home to the realization that you are safe to connect with your intuition, and that you are safe and in a safe space to receive that guidance and know things and have truth, hold truth again, okay? Or you may be in a space where So in step 2, in phase 2, you'd have to go through some healing and then recognize, hey, I have this muscle that is dormant that I can reactivate and start to use. Okay. Or phase 3, you may be so heavily in the logical sphere, so much in your logical mind for so long, that you almost have to unpack some of the logic to be able to get to a space of neutrality where you can even access the muscle of your intuition, okay? And then get to the space of activating that muscle, working with it again. And really the key point in that one is trusting in the unseen, and really getting yourself to a space where you feel safe and held to trust in the unseen, right? Believe it and then see it, rather than see it to believe it, as we do in the scientific aspect of our society and our lives, right? Or the logical aspect of our society and our lives. So when we look at how do we use it, how do we use our intuition? We use our intuition by most directly asking a question and listening for the answer, listening for the response. That inner knowing of, so for instance, should I leave my house right now? That inner knowing, that inner understanding of, no, you shouldn't. Or, yes, this is a perfect time, even if logically it doesn't seem that way, okay? That inner knowing of, yes, or no. That is your intuition talking to you. That is your intuition communicating with you. When your intuition starts communicating with you, it will be very quiet and subtle at first. The more you ask of it and listen to it, okay, and this is a 3-step process. So ask, listen, and then act upon. All right? So ask, listen, act upon. The more you complete that circuit, the more you complete that cycle, the more loudly, firmly, and often your intuition will communicate with you. All right? So at first, when you ask, you might get a whisper, right? But if you listen, if you get silent enough, if you practice getting silent enough through meditation, through gentle listening, through journaling, through emptying your mind, through spending time in nature, that sort of thing, the more you practice silencing your mind and being in a space of reception, being in a space of listening mode, right? The easier it will be to hear those whispers. The more you hear those whispers and act upon them, right, the louder and firmer your intuition is going to become for you and to you over the next little while. So you ask a question and it's very clear, it's very loud that, yeah, this is the answer, and it comes within seconds, right? And our intuition can respond to us and communicate with us in live time. There doesn't need to be a lag, right? When there is a lag, it's because we believe there needs to be a lag. Well, this is a big question, so it's going to take some time. Or, this is complicated, my guides have to have a meeting about this before they give me an answer. Time is not real, okay? Everything can happen in a second, right? So we can have access to this information from our intuition, regardless of the question that we're asking, in a second, right? But it really does take us some time to drop that ego, drop that fear, drop that concern about the bigness of the question or the complication of the question, to get into a space of reception to that line of communication with our intuition to begin with, right? But really communicating with our intuition is as simple as talking to our best friend, right? And it's like befriending your best friend is like an introvert befriending an introvert, or an extrovert befriending an introvert, okay, in preschool, right? At first, there may be whispers. At first, you may have little falling outs about different colors of crayons, or at first, you may sort of misstep around each other. But eventually, you find your rhythm. Eventually, you come together. Eventually, there's that magnetism that brings you together. Okay? So, you want to have patience with yourself in this process. You want to have patience with the way that your intuition is showing up for you and communicating with you. And remember that it's your intuition, so you can ask it to communicate with you in different ways. All right? So really the patience that you need to have is just really with yourself and the process. Okay? And you want to keep going. So if you're asking a question and you feel like you're not getting an answer, check to make sure that perhaps you're getting an answer, but it's not one that you want. It's not one that your logical mind wants to accept. All right? And a question that I get all the time when I talk about intuition is, how do I know if it's my intuition or if it's my fear? That comes with practice. And in some instances, you may not know. You may never know if it's your fear or if it's your intuition until after, until the consequences, until the situation has passed, or until you talk with a guide or someone external to yourself. Okay? Here's a couple things we want to remember about fear if it comes up in these situations. Our logical minds, our egos, are here to protect us. So if our logical mind or our ego is interjecting to protect us, we don't want to be so quick to write it off. Pay attention to your fear. Why is that fear coming up? Is this an invitation to heal something? Is there something that I can transmute or transcend or alchemize into useful energy? Is there something that I need to heal? Is there something that I need to forgive? Is there something that I need to release that may be hampering my progress in another aspect of my life too? When the fear comes up, when you think, oh, I'm getting a knowing or I'm getting a response and it might be fear, look at what the fear could be. Deconstruct, square up to, face the fear. And when you've done that, then ask the question again. And if the answer has shifted, then yes, it was fear, you've successfully dealt with it, and now you have your divine intuitive answer. If the answer is the same, then that was the intuitive answer all along, or the fear hasn't been dealt with, and you can always check that. Is it still fear, I wonder? Right? You want to trust the responses that come to you. Okay? So we can communicate with our intuition through internal dialogue, through journaling, free writing. So you write a question down and then you allow yourself to just free write. Okay? I've done this with an audio recording as well. So I ask a question into my phone, and then I just let it channel through and I audio record what comes through. Our intuition can speak to us instantaneously and about any topic. And our intuition is the gateway to further communication with our higher selves, source, our spirit guide team, our ancestors, so on and so forth. Okay? So your intuition is really a portal to anything and everything else that you are looking at on this path and on this journey of becoming, healing, expansion, ascension, all of it. Yeah. So I'm excited to do a part 2 to this video answering your questions. So if you have questions, drop them in the comments below and we'll chat very soon. Bye for now, folks.